What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another Black Ops 7 gun guide. This is the series where I dive deep into the stats of all of the guns, and then toward the end, I share some excellent attachment combinations for you guys to try out. And in today's episode, we're going to be covering the brand new SMG that came with the Season 1 Battle Pass. This is the KOGOT-7. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our raw power potential, and our rate of fire is quite fast at 952 rounds per minute. This is the second fastest firing SMG in the game. And when it comes to our damage, it's going to be a 5 to 8 shot kill depending on the damage range. Now what this means for our time to kill potential is right up close and personal in that 5 shot kill range. We've got a roughly average time to kill for an SMG, and that's to say that we are killing quite quickly. We're going to be outgunning most other weapon categories. It's just not really a standout in the SMG category. However, as we stretch our ranges out to like mid to longer ranges, we maintain an excellent time to kill potential that's now better than average for SMGs. Then taking a quick look at headshots. Without the headshot barrel, headshots are practically useless on this gun. Like, in order to get a 4-shot kill up close, you have to hit all 4 bullets consecutively to the head, which is just not realistic in the vast majority of situations. However, with the headshot barrel, if you add that on there, it does cut this down and make headshots a lot more reasonable, but it also increases your recoil, so something to consider there. Then let's take a look at our damage ranges, and our 5-shot kill potential extends out to about 13 meters, which is a little better than average for SMGs. It's not bad at all. However, we do have the worst minimum damage range in the SMG category, where we drop off to that 8-shot kill, so it doesn't really excel there, but then again, as I said, we do get a solid time to kill potential within those ranges for an SMG. It actually kills the fastest at longer ranges, assuming you're hitting your shots. As for our bullet velocity, this is right around average for an SMG at 540 meters per second, giving us a hit scan range of 27 meters. And then let's take a look at our barrels that impact ranges and velocity. So our long barrel will give us a 30% boost to all of our damage ranges. The velocity barrel will give us a 28% boost to our velocity value, but no change to range. The hybrid barrel gives us a 15% boost to range and a 14% boost to velocity. And then finally, with rapid fire, this will improve our rate of fire up to 1,071 rounds per minute, which is insanely fast. And that will obviously improve our time to kill potentials, but it also hurts our range and velocity by 10%. And then of course you will be experiencing more recoil with that higher rate of fire. Now taking a quick look at hardcore game modes, this gun will be a 1-shot kill anywhere in the body in the first damage range, so out to 13 meters. And then in the second damage range, we can get a 1-shot kill to the head still, but only if we're using the headshot barrel. And anything after that, it doesn't matter if it's a headshot or a body shot, it doesn't matter if you're using the headshot barrel, it's going to be a 2-shot kill. Then taking a quick look at Hipfire, this gun is just very slightly better than average for the SMG category, which is nice to see, especially with that high rate of fire. It does tend to excel quite a bit with Hipfire. And now let's get into our recoil. I did have to switch up my recoil testing wall, but I kept the range consistent, and the reason for that is Blackheart is no longer appearing in custom games for some reason. In either case, with this gun, we do have slightly sporadic recoil. First off, there's a decent amount of initial recoil, so the first few shots that you fire are going to be kicking upward a little bit faster and a little bit harder than the rest of the shots that you fire, and that's something you absolutely have to be aware of with this gun. And then when it comes to the overall shape of the pattern, you can see it starts drifting to the right initially, but then it corrects and comes back toward the left over time if you continue to hold down the trigger. And that is something you'll just have to keep an eye on and compensate for in real time, or use horizontal recoil attachments to help straighten that out a little bit. In either case, let's get into our handling stats. And with this gun, we've got a great aim down sight time at 200 milliseconds, also very good sprint out time at 125 milliseconds, and then our slide to fire and dive to fire times are right around average for the SMG category. So definitely does quite well in the handling department. Then when it comes to our reload time, our base reload time is just 1.35 seconds, which is very fast for a standard reload time, and we do have a standard magazine capacity at just 30 rounds. However, if we want to improve our reload time, we can use Fastmag 1 for a 1.05 second reload, and there's no penalty here to your magazine capacity, so that one's quite nice. Or you could go extreme with this with Fastmag 2, which drops your capacity down to 20 rounds, but then you get a ridiculously fast reload time at just 0.8 seconds or 800 milliseconds. That is insane. However, my personal favorite is Extended Mag 1 because we have a high fire rate, so we're burning through those mags quite quickly. It's nice to have that little bit extra in the mag. And to top this off, while it states that it has the same reload time as the base, it's technically very slightly faster when it comes to your reload add time. And you can cancel your reload sooner than you might think. Like, you can actually cancel that reload before the magazine even touches the gun. And that, combined with the increased capacity, is the reason this is my personal favorite. And for our base stats, this just leaves us with mobility, And across the board, the KOGOT-7 is excellent in this area. Even for an SMG, it's tied with the RK9 as having the best mobility stats, and that includes your base walking speed, sprint speed, and your aim walking speed. This gun really excels when it comes to mobility. And that covers it for all of the base stats of the KOGOT-7. Now let's get into the prestige attachments. And this one's quite unique. This is a dual wield attachment in the stock section. And with this, it will prevent you from using underbarrels as well. And with this, you now have 2 guns, 1 in each hand rather than just 1 gun. However, an interesting thing in Black Ops 7 is when you have akimbo equipped, you can actually swap to using just 1 single gun as well by hitting left on the D-pad. I don't know what the button's going to be on mouse and keyboard, but at least on console, left on the D-pad will just convert to a single gun, so then you can aim down sight if you want. However, when doing that, you are going to be seeing more recoil with this attachment. So there's that one downside there. It also harms our sprint out time a little bit. Same with our reload speed, it's going to be a bit slower with this, and our damage range values are reduced by 20%. And that's not to mention our hipfire spread is also increased when using this. Otherwise, it would probably be way too powerful. So lots of downsides here, but the upside is obviously, since we're firing both guns at once, we have an insane time to kill potential if we're hitting our shots. Right up close and personal, we have the potential to kill in just 112 milliseconds. And at that point, pretty much the only thing that's going to compete with you is going to be a shotgun. So it has incredible potential right up close, but obviously the trick here is you have to get yourself in really close quarters engagements so that you're actually going to be hitting those shots on a consistent basis. And at the end of the day with this, I really like this prestige attachment just for a nice change of pace. It's fun to use it. I wouldn't say it's particularly competitive on most maps at least, maybe in like the face-off playlist. But not every attachment needs to be. This one is more so just for fun in my eyes. And with that, we can now dive into some excellent attachment combinations I've got for you guys. And the first one is my go-to. This is my balanced stealth build. So with this one, we've got a suppressor to stay off the radar. We've got the drift lock underbarrel, which is the one that helps with horizontal recoil control. We have the 40 round extended mag, the remedy grip. This is the one that helps with aim down sight, sprint to fire, and dive to fire speeds. And then finally, we're topping this off with the buffer spring, just to help a little bit more with recoil as well, since I feel like this gun really benefits a lot from that. And as we can see here, the gun is more accurate than the base, but still, it's not like an insanely accurate gun, so you still have to control your ranges appropriately. And it's just a really nice, solid build if you want to be quite aggressive, especially if you like sliding into gunfights a lot. That's why I'm using that remedy light rear grip. One alternative to this that's also excellent uses all of the same attachments, but we swap out that rear grip for the aim walking movement speed stock. Because by default, this has a great aim walking speed, and then that bumps it up to 4.4 meters per second, and that allows you to strafe really effectively in gunfights. You're just going to be less effective now at sliding into gunfights. So it's really just up to your play style at that point, because essentially everything else will be the same, including our recoil. So that's the first one, or two, I guess you could say, with that variant. Next, let's get into my accuracy build. This one's using Gunfighter, so we're stacked on attachments and really leaning in to make this as accurate as possible, which is nice because we carry that excellent time to kill potential out to longer ranges. So as long as you can get the recoil under control, you can be quite effective at mid to longer range. So with this one, we have the Elo sight, the Hawker series compensator, the barrel that improves our damage range, once again, that horizontal recoil underbarrel, as well as the 40 round magazine, that remedy light stock to help with our slide to fire time. And we've also got the EMT3 Radix stock. And then once again, we're topping that off with buffer springs to really lean into recoil. We can see here, this is much more accurate than the base, and you can actually comfortably stretch your range out a fair amount while maintaining a great time to kill potential. And it's a solid build to use if you don't mind using Gunfighter. Now finally, this leaves us with my akimbo build. I definitely wanted to share one using that akimbo attachment. You do have to prestige the gun first, of course, to get this. But with this one, we're using the Hawker ported muzzle, which helps with our hipfire spread. We once again have that damage barrel to help compensate for the damage loss that we get, and it slightly overcompensates, so we see a net 4% improvement to our damage range. We're using that remedy light rear grip again, and this is primarily so you can slide into those fights, and especially with akimbo, that's going to be very helpful to close that distance. Then, of course, we are using the akimbo attachment itself, and then finally the convergence box laser, which is also going to be helping with hipfire. And it's interesting, those two hipfire attachments just cancel out the negative effects that we see with our hipfire by using the akimbo attachment itself. So we just have the same hipfire spread as the default gun now, which is definitely helpful. It's not the tightest hipfire spread out there, but it is going to make a noticeable difference when it comes to hitting your shots consistently in akimbo. And there we have it. That's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the KOGOT-7. And when it comes to my thoughts on this gun, I think it's excellent. I think it's a really solid SMG. I've enjoyed using it quite a bit already. I think it really suits my playstyle because it's just got excellent handling and mobility stats, a solid enough time to kill that it can hold its own, it's excellent at strafing as well, and it just meshes really nicely with my playstyle. Now, of course, those are just my opinions on this, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about the KOGOT-7 in those comments down below. Also, if you guys have missed the first episode of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description down below, and I will be covering the Maddox in the next one. So if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you don't want to miss that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll talk to you guys next time.